Did you get in a motorcycle accident in Texas? Can you get the settlement that you deserve? Hi, I'm Jeff Hampton with Fulgham Hampton Law Group, and I'm here today to talk to you about the 3 questions you must answer in order to double your motorcycle injury settlement in Texas. All right, let's jump right into this. First question you need to ask is who hit you? Did they have adequate insurance coverage? Now listen, for the sake of this video, I'm going to assume that the person that hit you was at fault. If you were at fault, you're going to have your insurance company trying to take care of this other person. So we're going to assume for a moment that the other person was at fault. There is no question that the driver that caused your motorcycle accident claim was responsible. So we need to now figure out if they had bodily injury liability insurance coverage. Now listen, in Texas, there are certain minimum requirements that must be met. You must have, and this is required by law, it's required everyone who has insurance must have at least $30,000 in liability coverage for each injured person, up to a total of $60,000 per accident and $25,000 for property damage per accident. This basic coverage is sometimes called 30, 60, 25 coverage. These coverage amounts include recovery for all damages associated with lost wages, medical bills, and pain and suffering. Now, as you can see, receiving injuries in a motorcycle accident are normally more severe than what you would find in just a fender bender with a truck or a car, and the damages sustained can easily exceed $30,000. Now, that's why we have to find out who hit you. What type of insurance did they have? Okay. Now, what if the person who hit you was a high net worth individual with an umbrella policy? Sometimes people have what's called umbrella policy. Umbrella policies actually provide what it sounds like, an umbrella coverage for multiple assets, and it's usually a higher level of insurance coverage. Or maybe it was a corporate or commercial vehicle. Maybe it was an 18-wheeler or an Uber or Lyft driver that was responsible for your accident or your injuries. From a liability insurance perspective, let me just tell you this. From an insurance perspective in Texas, this is the best case scenario if one of these alternative people actually were the cause of your accident. Why? Because these drivers I just mentioned, umbrella policy, corporate or commercial, 18-wheeler, Uber or Lyft driver, these folks usually have higher insurance policies that will protect you for a greater amount of recovery. For example, many umbrella policies cover anywhere between $500,000 up to $1 million in coverage for an auto accident, and umbrella policies protect high net worth individuals from a subsequent lawsuit that could reach their personal assets in order to pay for damages caused by negligence in an accident. The same holds true with a commercial driver. Most commercial or corporate insurance policies provide a higher policy limit. Truck drivers in every state, let's talk about trucks for a second. Truck drivers in every state are required to adhere to the minimum liability insurance requirements established by the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, the FMCSA. Commercial liability insurance covers the cost of financial damages sustained by the victim of a truck accident. It could also cover medical bills, repair costs, and it could even fund for pain and suffering, and future expenses. It protects drivers and trucking companies when they cause a serious accident. So, here's why that matters. The minimum insurance for truck drivers depends upon the weight of the vehicle and the type of load that they're hauling. For example, a truck that weighs over 10,000 pounds that carries non-hazardous materials must have a minimum of $750,000 of liability insurance. Trucks of the same weight that do carry hazardous or explosive materials must obtain a minimum of $5 million in liability coverage. Now, what if it's a large passenger vehicle like a bus or a van? Well, more specifically, a bus. For interstate passenger carriers that can fit 16 or more people, there must be a $5 million liability coverage for the business. When the same vehicle carries 15 or fewer passengers, the requirement is $1,500,000. The only exceptions for small vehicles are the ones that carry less than 7 people, like taxis and small buses. Those who operate these vehicles are exempt from the limits listed above. Now, for commercial vehicles, now we're going to talk about commercial vehicles that travel in Texas. Policy limits can be lower. Trucks that carry only household goods only need $300,000 in commercial liability coverage. Trucks that carry general freight only within Texas need $500,000 in coverage. So all other trucks need to meet the FMCSA requirements, all right? Now, look, I'm trying to give you all this because it's really important. Who hits you matters, okay? One of the first things you've got to determine is you've got to figure out what the insurance amounts are, what is available to be covered to pay for your injuries. Now, for truckers carrying household goods, the company must have a minimum of $5,000 for loss or damage to a single shipper's cargo and a minimum of $10,000 for loss or damage to, and there you're talking about cargo and damage as a result of an accident. But here's the thing, motor carriers must also provide for compensation, workers' compensation. So even if you're looking at this video right now and you were driving someone's truck for someone and it turned out you were injured as a result of that, or you were driving a vehicle, we have another people who will be making deliveries on whether it be a motorcycle or a moped or different things like that for a business. There are certain requirements that business is going to have commercial insurance, okay? Now here's the thing about 18-wheelers. Most 18-wheelers have at least $750,000 in coverage, and Uber and Lyft drivers, assuming the driver has accepted the request and they were in transit to come pick you up or you were on your way there, they typically have $1 million coverage policy. Now, what if the driver that hit you didn't have enough insurance coverage? Here's the real nightmare scenario. What if you find out there wasn't enough coverage? Are you out of luck? Well, not necessarily. Listen to this part, it's very important. You must then look to your own insurance policy to see if you can recover under your uninsured motorist coverage. Now look, I'm gonna give you a little pro tip here. Maybe you haven't ever been in a car accident yet. One of the things that I think it's money well spent on your insurance coverage is to get uninsured motorist coverage and to get a very good policy for this, because that's what happens. You end up getting into an accident in some way and the other person doesn't have enough coverage. At least make it to where you're covered on an uninsured or underinsured motorist coverage policy. You see, an uninsured motorist coverage pays you for pain and suffering, for lost wages and unpaid medical bills that were not covered at the at-fault driver's insurance company as a result of your motorcycle accident. What if you don't have uninsured motorist coverage on your motorcycle? You should now check your other vehicle coverage policies to see if you have uninsured motorist coverage on maybe your truck or your car. Uninsured and underinsured motorist coverage in Texas is what they call stackable, okay? It is stackable in Texas. Stacking uninsured or underinsured motorist coverage may permit, here's what it does, it permits a person to add together either insurance coverage from several auto policies or insurance coverage from family members in order to take care of you. This coverage will allow you to provide recovery for medical expenses, lost wages, and pain and suffering. Now also, what if you were driving this motorcycle, but you weren't the owner of the motorcycle at the time of the accident? In this situation, uninsured motorist coverage will allow payment for medical expenses, lost wages, and pain and suffering. Now, not sure if you have uninsured motorist? You say, well, I don't know. How do I find out if I have uninsured motorist coverage for my motorcycle or auto policy? Look at the declarations page on your insurance policy. You should be able to find this easily online or log in through the app for your insurance company. Now, additionally, if the driver that hits your motorcycle doesn't have sufficient insurance coverage, you should also look to make sure that there may be coverage elsewhere. In other words, what if the person that was driving the vehicle that hit you on your motorcycle, what if they were doing something for the economic benefit or with the authorization from a business or another entity? Sometimes your personal injury lawyer may be able to find coverage from another source to help you recover more on your motorcycle accident case. Okay, question number two. Question number two, did you have minor injuries or major injuries? Did you seek immediate medical attention? As a general rule, this is the rule for all personal injury cases in Texas. The extent of the injuries determines the extent of your recovery, okay? I've had people call me in sometimes and say, look, I wasn't hurt at all, but can I get $1 million? No, that's not the way personal injury cases work. This applies just as much to motorcycle cases as it does to car accident cases, but here is one of the big differences with motorcycle cases. How some people view motorcycle riders in general. Now look, I'm not saying this is fair, but if you were riding on a motorcycle and you were not badly injured, You can sometimes run into prospective jurors, people who are out there that could be on a jury during a jury trial that are actually biased against motorcyclists. In other words, they just don't have much sympathy for someone who's hurt when riding a motorcycle. If you run into this situation, a juror that is biased against you as a motorcyclist may not want to pay you a justifiable jury verdict because they look at you and say, you know what? I think you were reckless in riding your motorcycle. You assumed the risk that you were going to get seriously hurt when you got on the motorcycle, so I don't think you should deserve very much. Now look, under Texas injury law, that is not right, and it's not fair, and it's not supported by the law. So how can you tell, okay? How can you tell if your injuries were major or minor? Well, when we say minor injuries, we're talking about neck pain. We're talking about back pain, elbow pain, or bruising, or maybe light scrapes as a result of the accident. Listen, if you suffered a broken bone, maybe you had major road rash or other injuries that may have required surgery or more extensive medical treatment, there is no doubt that you suffered an injury that is more extensive and worthy of a more substantial settlement amount. For example, this goes without saying, death or permanent disfigurement, some type of substantial loss of the use of your body, like you're crippled, you're blind, you're not able to walk like you used to before, or make use of everything on your body like it was before. Those are cases that you would expect a full recovery for a motorcycle accident case. Okay, third question, can fault be proven? What if you suffered serious injuries as a result of a motorcycle accident in which you were the only one involved? You're the only person involved. Now listen, single vehicle accident cases pose a very serious problem for recovery. In order to get money for medical bills, lost wages, and pain and suffering, the cause of the accident must be due to someone else other than yourself. Now look, sometimes we can find that, okay? Sometimes there is ways that can be determined. How do we determine who is at fault? Well, one of the things we look at, and any good personal injury attorney should look at, is to look at the police department's crash report and the police report to determine the outline of the cause and a determination of the accident. However, be careful not to rely solely upon this piece of evidence. It is critical that you have an experienced and aggressive personal injury attorney examine the totality of the facts involved to determine if it can be proven that another party is at fault. For instance, we've had situations where a motorcyclist was driving down the road. They were out touring on one of the back roads in South Texas, and on their way there, they end up hitting an enormous pothole in the middle of a major road, and it ends up leading to very serious bodily injury. Well, in that situation, it may be able to be shown that the road crews were not adequately taking care of it and they were negligent in maintaining the roads. But outside of that, if someone else just loses control of something and there's no proof of being able to show someone else was at fault or negligent as a result of that, it makes it difficult to recover, okay? Hopefully, if someone else was involved in the accident, a police officer should have, let's say someone else was involved, that police officer should have written them a ticket or a citation or maybe arrested them if they tried to leave the scene of the accident. This will provide a strong presumption that they were negligent and were the cause of the accident. So listen, those are three questions that really need to be answered if you have been in a motorcycle accident in Texas. Here at the Fulgham Hampton Law Group, we stand ready to help you if you have been involved in a motorcycle, you or a loved one have been involved in a motorcycle accident, and we offer free consultations, and there is no fee for us to help you recover. We work off a contingency fee basis. You pay nothing on the front end in order for us to help assist you. If you would like that free consultation, don't hesitate to contact the Fulgham Hampton Law Group at 817-697-4400. Thanks again for joining us here today. Look forward to seeing you on our next video.